Hey everybody, welcome back. We are Raising Oklahoma with Carrie Williams. She's the Executive Director of Rainbow Fleet Resource Center. And now that it's the new year, it's time for us that we get all of those appointments ready for our kids, one of which could be developmental screening. Before we jump into that, I was right by your office and I got my Paseo District
Cup. I like that mug. I don't even have one of those.
You need to go right next door to the art space.
Go not, hey, hello,
I'll let you borrow
need
this
a cup.
next time you come in.
Well,
Hey, it is important though, right? These things, I'm sorry.
well, also cups, but
Cups
yes.
are very important.
And developmental screenings. Well, exactly what is a developmental screening?
It's basically a list of questions that a certified screener can ask and sit down and basically during playtime with your child, figure out if there are any kind of developmental delays with their fine motor skill development, their social development, their gross motor skills even, or, you know, just problem solving, anything.
You know, when you have your first kid, I'm sure Marcy could probably speak to this as well. You know, you're so worried. And sometimes kids, they're at different levels. The people that do these types of interviews, if you will, they know what to look for. So it's not like, oh, he's not responding quick enough. And that might be something, hey, you might want to look out for. What would the result from that be?
So there's kind of a difference between a developmental monitoring visit and a developmental screening. And developmental monitoring is what your pediatrician will do at all of the
when they ask all those questions and they have them do, like, walk across the room, do this, do that. Okay.
All of that is part of developmental monitoring.
Okay.
And what that can basically give the pediatrician an insight into is, do we need to go a step further and do that developmental screening? Okay. And those are done through various different screening organizations, but Ages and Stages questionnaire is what we use at Rainbow Fleet. We have OU Health Sciences Center's child guidance services come into Rainbow Fleet once a month. And they'll do those developmental screenings, and then if needed, they'll do an autism screening as well.
I was going to say these are important because it can flag things like that.
Yes.
And early intervention is key.
Absolutely. You know, early intervention can help us know what to do as parents, help their child care providers, and help their pediatricians know if there are some extra therapies that they need for speech development or cognitive development, or even, you know, just behavioral issues.
And I was going to say that sensory integration, isn't that a big one too?
It's really big, really important for school readiness.
Like in sensory, explain more about that. Right? What does that mean?
So some children, you know, you have a very hard time getting them to eat anything, when really it might just be a sensory issue. It might be that they can't handle specific textures in foods, or the clothing. If your child doesn't want clothing on, there are certain fabrics that can really be bothersome to children with sensory processing delays.
You know, and as you talk about that, I think about that, like, you know, when I went through that with my oldest, you know, those are actually two things. I could never keep clothes on the kid, and he would never eat anything like that. Had, you know, be able, it's not necessarily that there's something that's going to be detrimentally wrong with it. It's just something that you might start to work closer to.
Sure. And
by the fourth child, I'm sorry, she had a speech impediment.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's something else that they would screen for, right?
Absolutely, they screen for it, and that early intervention is so important because they say in the United States, 13% of kids ages 3 to 17 have some kind of developmental delay, autism, or ADHD, some kind of disorder. And if you know what you're dealing with, you know how to address it. Yeah. You know, if you don't know that your child has a sensory processing disorder,
you're right.
You're very frustrated every morning trying to get them to put their uniform on or eat their breakfast. You know, this can kind of give parents the tools for how to deal with their children.
Instead of like, oh, he's just spoiled, or oh, he just does this, or he's just unique that way. This actually could lead on. That's actually interesting to see that they do that.
And speech impediments, those can be dealt with.
They can, you know? and my daughter had lisp, and you know, they were able to pick it out, and she, by the time she got into first grade, you know, she was able to work
and they
through
can
it.
figure out if it's just going to be literally a dental issue, if it's going, you know, I mean, all those things come into play, but you need to know early on.
Right.
All right. How do they set one of these up?
Well, we do them every month at Rainbow Fleet, and we take appointments. So, and depending on who calls in for an appointment, whether they have just want a basic developmental screening, or they might have a concern about autism or some other serious issue, determines the number of screenings we can do in a daytime. It's usually the second Wednesday of every month, so we have a screening day set up this Wednesday. And then the next one, I think, is February the 13th. Okay. And so they just call Rainbow Fleet, make an appointment. We have time slots, and as soon as we fill them up, we move on to the next month.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to do it. It's one of those things, sometimes people think, okay, it's just going to go away. But you know what? This is one of those things, deal with it head on. And
Why not?
you will be
Take
better
the
off
stigma
for
out
it.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you get your car checkup. You got to think about your kid. You're going to have your kid a lot longer. You want to make sure that they have the best,
Absolutely.
best
It's
way
the
to do
most
it.
expensive thing you'll ever have.
That's true.
Actually,
Yeah.
that's the best way to look at it. You're right. All right, if you need any help when it comes to child care and parenting, Rainbow Fleet is there to help. And their number to call is 405-525-3111. You can call that number to set up those appointments. Now, they're back every other week with more expert advice for parents who are raised in Oklahoma. They also have a number for those that speak Spanish. It is 525-8783.
Well, just in case you missed